1, 2, 3, 4.
Greetings, Nick with Sweetwater here, and today I'm at the Clyde Theatre, and I'm very honoured and privileged to be joined by my good friend I haven't seen for many, many years, Mr. Marty Friedman. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. So here he is, Marty. Thanks for doing this, my friend.
Thank you. Great to see you, Nick. It's been a while.
Great to see you too. Yeah, like 20 years or something like that. I had the honour of being in the back seat when Marty was doing his column for Guitar World and Guitar School that ran for many, many years. So we got to know each other really well, and it was great for me to do that because I learned a lot from this man. And talking of learning a lot from this man, we just jammed over A minor to F, which would lose me in like 3 seconds because I need more movement. So how did you make that so darned interesting? No pressure there.
Well, the only thing that I can really do that will hopefully help somebody is kind of explain a thought process.
Right.
There are millions of thought processes to following chords. I think the most important one is you deciding how you want to interpret what you are doing. I think a lot of people think, well, if it's I got an A minor and an F, then I'm going to follow it this way. I'm going to follow it with use the A minor scale or pentatonic or whatever. They have like their formulas. Yeah. If I stick in this mode, I'll be safe and I'll do something that'll sound good. That's one way to think. The other way to think is forget about all that stuff and just try to think of what you want to represent yourself with.
The story you want to tell.
Yes, the story you want to tell, the notes that you want to choose. Because it's one thing to like follow the theory and be safe and make it through and sound good. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
But everybody's doing that. So how are you going to sound different from anybody else? Everyone has the same theory. You know, in theory, all you really need to do to stay safe over an A minor F is play like in some kind of A minor type of scale.
Yeah, I would, for example, I didn't mean to step on you, but I would do exactly what you just said. I would go to A minor pentatonic, maybe throw in the blues note, maybe go natural minor,
right,
which is C major effectively, and then just have at it. Play my old patterns in a slightly different phrasing
so
and
let
hope.
Me give you some ideas. I don't know if I did any of these things in what I just played, but like, give me an A minor and I'll show you like, so you might want to start with something. So doesn't sound like a scale or anything. It's just gives you the choice. You emphasize notes, you go. These are just notes, but it's not playing within a scale. So if I do something like that, it's going to start me off on like some kind of thing a theme. So if I go say, And then kind of like calling and responding to myself.
right.
But I'm not just noodling up and down in a scale, and I'm using notes that are not necessarily in the same scale sequence of notes for a long period of time. I think that might be freeing to a lot of people who play by scales. Like, for example, if you play an A minor chord for me, I could go.
That was good.
It's just you're just playing A minor, right? And what do you think was good about? Why did that sound good to you?
You played some notes that I didn't expect to hear. Well, notes that I wouldn't have played, but there was a melody there. There was an emotion. At the risk of being obsequious, it wasn't just a, hey, I copped this off Kiss Alive 1, and this is my dime bag.
That's a whole nother video we could do.
Yeah, which is what I did for years. I stole shamelessly from Ace, and then as I got better, well, not that Ace is not great, then I would steal from other people, but I would stay in that safe little zone where I knew I can get away with this. Whereas you're playing like you were playing like the major seventh, for example, and the flat fifth pretty much back to back, and it worked.
It worked
really
because,
cool.
Oh, thank you very much. I think it worked because I'm selling it to you. You could be making a complete ass out of yourself, but if it doesn't look like you are, then people hear with their eyes sometimes.
Yeah, you played with intent. I remember you saying that once. I can go, when one of the columns you talked about playing outside, he said, you can go way outside in terms of theory, but if you play it like you mean it with intent, you're selling it.
Well,
Because you're playing like you believe, and that's one of the things, that's why I love players like George Lynch, for example. He completely goes outside of the theory boundaries, but it sounds right.
Well, what I'm saying here is I was kind of joking a minute ago. You say play with intent. Well, you have to have the intent in the first place.
Exactly.
So you have to intend on everything that you do. So intending on something, the more you intend to do something, the more personalized it is, because that's you making that decision.
What a great way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah, because you made that decision, not because you learned some scale and how to play a sequence of notes really cleanly and accurately. You say, you know what, I hear A minor, I want to play this. And I'm playing a C sharp, it's A minor.
Yeah.
But that's my intention. Let me make that a little clearer. Play A minor again. Ain't playing no scale in there.
No, it's very exotic, sort of.
So what I did was I kind of broke the rules there with intention, a good word that you put there. You're playing minor there.
Oh, there's some Eastern vibe there. It's great.
Oh, thank you very much. It's just all about, like, you have to hear it, though, if you want to have the intention to do it. But the sooner that you grasp the idea of having the intention to do something, the better off you are, because you don't really need to have the ultimate technique or super chops to intend to do something.
Right.
Why do you think most young rock bands do well? Is because they intend to do what they would do. What they're doing is maybe not quite so difficult.
Right.
But they intend to do that, and they've chosen to do that. Same thing goes with lead guitar. You have to intend to do these things, even if they're outside of the box.
Right.
So,
and the thing I love about you too is that even though people lump you in the shredder box, I know you dislike that term because to you it just means whittling pointlessly.
Right.
And when you step away, it's like, yeah, your fingers are moving fast and it's impressive, but musically, I'm left. You haven't moved me.
Well, you know, there's a time and a place for everything. And if you do it in a nice time and place, people are going to enjoy it. And more importantly, if you do it in the time and place that you intend to do it,
There's
that's
that
all
word
that
again.
matters.
There's that word
and if
again.
you intend to play that way all the time, more power to you. That's fantastic.
Right.
The whole point is, get this from the earliest stage you possibly can. You have to want to do something yourself. You have to have those intentions, and you have to make those decisions. Each note is a decision. Each note, how long you're going to hold that note is a decision. each note you sustain, each note you move off, each little phrase you do, the more you plan, not plan ahead necessarily, but the more you say, I'm signing off on that. That's what I want to do. That's when you start to like develop your own identity.
Right. But the fact that I just played one chord several times and it didn't sound like just one chord, I get lost on that stuff. Like what I'll do is, if there's a song, if I say I'm doing a session and they're going, okay, this is your solo part and it's just on one note, I'll have them do a move for me because my brain's not good enough to make the movement with my guitar over a single drone.
This is a good point. Now, I can give you something that might help with that. Of course, depending on the song, but if you hear one chord, you can pretend that's a bass drone under a chord progression.
Yeah.
So like if you give me just like an A there.
Hold on, so.
Just any kind of A. So you could hear 4 chords under that.
Yeah.
Real common basic chords.
Doesn't matter, it works.
But yeah, you're hearing bass is playing A, but I'm like outlining these chords with the improvisation.
Right.
And so the sooner you get in the habit of doing that, the better, because sometimes you'll be faced with like these long droning one chord things, and it's actually easier to think of these chord progressions in your mind than to do something cool over one chord for like 5 hours.
Right.
So if you make up your own chord progression and follow that, and it's over this one chord, people are going to think, what's he thinking about? It's really melodic, but you're really just following the chords that you choose.
And what would you suggest the best way of following? Like arpeggios, obviously, in the easy.
Arpeggios are like the basic way to do it. But you have to hear these things. Like, for example, you take a basic arpeggio form, like a basic arpeggio form, and to like stylize it your own way, you want to like add or subtract the notes somewhere in there. And this should be everyone's choice, not necessarily the one that I'm going to come up with now.
Right, okay.
The concept of adding and subtracting. If you go... You see what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm adding this, what is the ninth? So if you have an A minor, so there's 2 ways to get around, well, there's more probably, but like, see, I did, so that's my first phrase there, for example. So how do I get to it in an interesting way? I'll go, and then if I'm going to answer it back, I'll go, so I'm just kind of calling and responding to myself, listening carefully to what I just did so I'm able to respond to it.
Right.
So if I'm not listening to what I'm doing, how am I going to respond to it?
But it came across really well there. Once again, I'm going to use the obsequious term, but that, if you saw smoke coming out of my ears, folks, that was not an effect put on afterwards. That was my brain going, I can't process this yet, but I'm going to try to. That was really, like you said, you were actually listening to yourself. What a concept. Like having a conversation with yourself. Are you familiar with Greg Koch at all? The big.
Oh, he's a fantastic guitar player.
I had a great conversation with him once. We were talking about soloing, and he said, when I said, how do you approach it? He goes, I have a conversation with myself, which is kind of what you were doing there. And you determine by the notes you pick the mood of that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to listen. And I always say, like when I'm recording, I listen about 90% more than I play. So I'll do a take, and then I'll listen back to it, and then I'm really critiquing it as if I'm listening to somebody else.
Right.
I think what may tend to happen with a lot of guitar players is they're soft on themselves. They'll play something and they'll nail it and they'll go, I nailed it.
Right.
And that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can't be the one, dude. Everybody's nailing everything. You got to listen to it as if you're listening to somebody else.
Right.
How often do you listen to someone else and are really impressed? It's not that much. A lot of times you listen to somebody and go, yeah. But you want to hold yourself to a higher criteria. when you listen back to your own thing, you want to listen to it like, if that was someone else, you'd be like, oh my God, what is that?
Yeah, would I care? Yeah.
Right. So that's why you have to keep listening to yourself critically and keep playing until you get to that point where you're impressing yourself as if you were impressed by somebody else.
It's a really good point. I mean, it's what I teach a lot, and every now and again someone will say, what do you like? And I'll play them an Alan Holdsworth solo, and he has a unique approach, and it makes them think differently, which is what you're kind of saying too, is think differently. Don't just, I've practiced this, so I'm going to do it, darn it.
Well, that's one of the fun things about guitar, especially in the early times, is you practice something, you get that feeling of achievement.
Right.
We love it. It's great. We think, oh, our work's done. Oh, but no, your work has just begun. It ain't about just making it safely through the solo of following all the chords. That's not enough. You have to do something that you sign off as it's yours. And if you were to like leave this earth tomorrow and this was the last thing that you would play, this is what you'd be remembered by. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's no pressure there.
No pressure there, but like, what are we doing? You know, are we hobbyists, or are we doing it for real?
So, like, there's that old saying, you're only as good as your last record. So in your case, you're only as good as your last solo.
Yeah, or the last thing that you've done. I mean, the last thing that you signed off on anyway.
Right,
you know, it's like a casual jam is one thing, but when you're in the studio making a record, that's the time when you like really, this is like your yearbook. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You can't change that picture.
You can't change the picture, and you don't want to have a goofy comment in there, you know? So, that's the way to have an identity, really. I mean, it's one thing to practice, and practice obviously is extremely important, but at the same time, thinking of your own, why am I doing this? What am I making music for? What do I have to say? What do I want to say? What is my expression going to be?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be all figured out at once. You learn it as you go. It changes as you go. But I think a lot of young people would benefit to know that you don't have to be as technically accurate as like the latest TikTok guy who's just unbelievable.
Right.
What you have to be is exactly yourself, what you want to represent yourself as.
Well said.
I think a lot of people see the guy who practiced with the metronome for like months and years and plays this flawless 16th notes at 200 beats per minute, and they say, that's what I want to do. And if that's your goal, that's absolutely fine, but you're not going to get really good advice from me from that, because it's very simple to do that. Very, very simple to do that. Take anything and practice it.
Right.
What you and I are talking about today is how to somewhat develop your own voice over the same chords everybody has. Everybody has A, everybody has F, everybody has E, and all these chords. And how do you do that? You just try a lot of different things, and you have to decide for yourself, well, I like this. For example, we'll go back to A maybe. Give me an A, and like...
Major or minor?
It doesn't matter. So you're playing an A there, and the normal thing would be... Right? But like... You might want to be of the mindset that if you play that A minor again, it's a really basic substitution. It's just playing an E minor 7 over A.
Yeah, but it sounds great.
If that's where you want to represent yourself, you know, someone would want to hear this. It's very E minor 7 over that A, but you have to make that choice for yourself.
Right.
And you could also do things like this. If you play that A thing there. All I did was add a B flat to an A. You have to explore these things and make these decisions.
We did something in Guitar World, and you said what you'll do is you'll start. It will remind me of Eddie Van Halen has that great saying, may he rest in peace, falling down the stairs and landing on your feet. And I remember you showing me something where you started off in the safe mode, I think it was A minor, and then you went somewhere completely outside, like B flat or something, and then moved it chromatically descending, and then ended up in an A minor blues.
Oh, I gotcha. Oh, there are guys who can do that way better than I can, but But I think the point where this resonates with me is I don't like to take things too far outside.
Right.
For me, I like to keep it all relatable and all listenable. So like if you break it down in theory, maybe I might be doing some cool stuff that a scholar might say, wow, this is amazing that he did the Phrygian over the Mixolydian or something like that.
Right.
I couldn't care less about that.
Yeah, that's
but
not how you're thinking.
That like people hear it and it's what I want them to hear, for better or for worse.
Right.
So let me give you a little easy example of what might be what you're talking about. Say you're like playing a blues in A minor. And you do a real typical. See what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
It's all real normal, except there's one little thing in there where I did like something chromatic. I'm still like in a very normal note for blues. I mean, a normal G in blues is not unusual.
Yeah.
But coming down.
Yeah, the way you approach the note makes people perceive that note differently.
Right. So a G sounds cooler if you do something a little bit unusual before it.
Right.
It's not necessarily my example here, but what you should take out of that is, wow, it's just a normal G, but like if I come to it in an interesting way, I can get more bang out of that G than just doing a normal lick into it.
Right. It's almost like you build tension and then the G is the ha.
Exactly. This is just my personal observation. If I hear a solo that starts really high, and I'm probably guilty of this in my career, so people writing in the comments, but you did this on this song and this song and that song. People will start the solo like up there. Come on, man. You gotta start down here. So if you start lower, the lower notes are manly. Why do you think like those 9-string guitars sound so manly?
Right.
And they're way down here. So like, it's just something to have in your mind when you're doing a solo. You gotta have some place to go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Don't start where you intend to finish.
Right, exactly. So, but lead guitar players, we like these top strings, and we tend to play them, but there's a whole uncharted territory in the low strings that are really nice. So like, for example, if you were to play just any type of E minor thing, I'll play some low stuff and we'll mess around.
And I purposely kept it on E minor or E minor 7 just to see how interesting you could make that. And I don't know about you watching, but that was interesting. That was really interesting.
Thank you so much.
That'll be $20, Marty, by the way. But
nice.
No, seriously, that's what I really wanted to do this lesson, was to go, how can I make myself better? Because I would think I'm limited by that, when you've proved that it's an open tapestry. It's a blank piece of canvas upon which you can paint.
Right. If you throw another chord in there, it doubles it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, hit me with another chord somewhere in there. throw other chords in there. It gives you a little bit more.
Stuff to move.
You get
over.
stuff for free, actually. You know what I mean? Because you get lucky on one chord, you get unlucky on other chords.
Especially when you get an idiot like me playing a wrong chord halfway through. But
it doesn't matter. There's no wrong chords.
Thank you. That was intentional. See?
There's no wrong chords. We're not making a record here.
Yeah, we're not.
You look at it this way. If we did this jam like we just did, and there's like 10 seconds of really cool stuff in there, that's made it all worthwhile. So like, for example, if I'm writing a song or recording something, I might do a jam like this or something like that and just hope that there's like one spark of something slightly cool. And oftentimes there's nothing usable at all.
Right.
But if there's just like one little lucky spark of something cool, that's worth it. And then you use that, and everything else you just throw away.
Right. But you've got to make the effort to find that magic.
Finding it is harder than playing it.
Right.
Playing the magic is easy, but it's so much easier to just throw it away. Who wants to listen to like a bunch of jams that you did? You know what I mean? I certainly don't, but like I do. I have to like go through all this stuff and like find this 1 second. Wow, it sounded really neat when I played over this one chord this way, and I bent up a little bit late or a little bit early, and I held this note out. I'm going to make something out of that. These are the decisions that you have to make if you want to have an identity.
How would you sum up this you've given so much great information, thank you, by the way. How would you, if you had to give like a guitar player, be they young, be they old, be they metal, be they jazz, be they whatever they like, what would you, if you had to give them like 3 or 4 sentences of advice from your good self, what would you say?
The first thing is learn all of your favorite music as best as you can. Your favorite music, not what your guitar teacher says you need to learn first, and not what someone on YouTube says, but the music you dig. Find out what makes it tick. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who like listen to something like Alan Holdsworth for the very first time after never touching an instrument before and saying, I want to play that, show it to me now.
Right. No, I hear you.
It doesn't start that way.
No.
You start to respect those type of unbelievable great players once you've learned enough to realize how incredible it is in the first place. Right. Most of us, we start from very humble things that are really not too far out of our reach.
Right.
Because it's those simple things that get us excited.
Yeah.
In my case, and maybe your case, it was Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss
the Ramones.
Yeah.
And then it was Nirvana for a lot of people. 3 months and you're playing that stuff.
Right.
So the first thing you got to do is learn what you like.
Yeah, be selfish is what you say.
Be selfish all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And then search out the things that you like and learn them. And here's another one. There's a lot of songs that like 90% of it you don't care about, but there's just this one part that's just so amazing. Learn that part. Learn the hell out of that part. And just get in a habit of doing that everywhere you go. Anytime anything appeals to you, learn that.
Find out why.
Use it in a sentence.
Right.
Try to make your own rip-off version of it.
So and then be an artful thief, you're saying, yeah.
Steal from your favorites. And the more you get in the habit of doing that, your playing is going to sound like a culmination of your album collection.
Right.
And then once you're doing that, you're well on your way to having an identity. You know what I mean? I never listened to a whole lot of jazz. So when you hear me play, it's like, well, he's obviously not a big Miles Davis fan because I don't sound like that.
Right.
Because there's a well of wonderful information to learn, but it was just, there's no way to learn everything in the world.
Right.
So I learned what I enjoyed, and then I tried to create my own identity starting from that basic information and then lifting off from there. So for the more younger beginning guitarists, learn your favorite stuff and then be on a quest to learn this part from your teacher or from whoever's showing you, your friends. Be specific.
Yeah.
Be specific.
I just want that. Yeah.
I just want that. I remember I had a guitar teacher when I was a kid. all I wanted to do was learn how to play like Kiss songs.
Right.
And he was showing these like these hippie songs with these interesting chords. But I'm like, no, that's not what I want to learn. That's not what I learned. But it's so cool. Look at these chords. It's like these funky chords. And no, I want to learn how to do this. So you kind of have to override the people above you because, teachers, they want to teach you what they know how to play. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. You're right.
Guilty. They want to teach you what they're good at doing. I'm telling you this right now. They want to get you out of there in the hour, and they want to get that money and go eat something. This is how it works. But you're the one in there. Tell them what you want to learn. Tell them exactly what you want to learn. And because they'll say, oh, but to learn that, you need to learn this first.
Yeah.
No. Just show it. Just show it. And he said, look, I don't care if it takes a month to learn it. You're going to show me how this is done. And you can videotape it now. We didn't have that back in the day.
No.
Videotape it now and play it slowly, learning the chords behind it and the solos. Learn exactly what you want to learn. And you know what? Your teacher's going to be bummed at first, but then he's going to respect you more. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. I was the worst teacher when I was teaching back in the Cacophony days. I was the worst.
Right.
This is what I would do. I would teach the kids something, right? And then while he's practicing it, I'm sitting there harmonizing it, and thinking of different intervals to play with the thing that I just showed him. So he walks away thinking that he learned this rad lick. Meanwhile, I'm learning all these different intervals on my own with him playing this backup lick for me to practice to.
So he was basically your backing band for practice. Yeah. He was your looper.
Yeah, and I would recommend that to guitar teachers out there because, you want to make the most of your time. But if you're a student, please be specific because the more you are as a habit of being specific about what you like, the more opinionated you will be with yourself when it comes to judging your own playing. And that's the most important thing, judging your own playing, not necessarily for accuracy or coolness, but how much you like what you're doing.
Once again, it comes down to that word intent in a weird way.
Intent, man. The more intent you have, you think like Brian May when he plays, you think he really cares about anything other than his point getting across?
Yep.
Every single thing he does sounds like him.
Yep.
That's because he's making decisions that shave away all the other outside influence that I'm sure he has. I mean, I have a lot of things that I'm influenced by, but it doesn't come out in my playing.
Right.
But it's important to be very specific about your intentions. And this can be done in a beginning age. You don't have to be an advanced player to do this. So just stay focused on what you want your music to be, and don't worry if it all doesn't come to you at the beginning. It's going to come in time. It's going to come in time. So just be honest with yourself. Don't let anybody bully you into, oh, but dude, this Holdsworth lick is rad. You got to learn it. It's like, right. Dude, I'm not going to be able to play that, and it's not really in heavy rotation in my CD player right now or on Spotify. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I respect it. Difference between respect and liking things.
Yep.
This is huge. I respect anyone who makes music. Anyone, but that doesn't mean that I enjoy what they do. But we're all doing the exact same thing here. We're all just trying to make people happy with music. You know what I mean? So whether I can't stand that music, it still doesn't matter. We have an instrument in our hand. We're trying to entertain people. We're trying to do something nice. So you don't like the music. I don't like the music. What I like is what I like, and I really care about that, and that's what I try to play.
Comes back to being selfish again. Being selfish and honest. So intent, be selfish, be honest.
Yeah, you're only one. There's only one of you. I mean, every single person is an individual. Every single person has something inside of them that's different from the next person. You think a lot of these guitar players, they sound the same. Well, it's because they're learning the same way. They're just learning these theories, and they're learning from lazy guitar teachers, and they're learning, these techniques and tricks and sweep picking and tapping and all this. It's the same shit everybody's learning.
Right.
So at some point, you have to decide in very small detail which of these things that you really want to represent yourself with. And I think I probably said that 1,000 times.
To me, it's almost like there's a big buffet. You've got to pick the food you want to eat the most. You don't want to fill yourself up with stuff you don't really like.
Good one. I like that. See, that's the G-rated version of what I would have said.
Yeah. And I guess at this point, all I can say is, Marty, thank you so much for taking the time. And guys and girls, listen to what this man says, because he's way smarter than me, and I've learned a lot. So hopefully you can do the same too, Marty.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, man. It's been
my pleasure.
Thank you.
Good fun.